Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for live reaction and player ratings live stream following Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Chelsea 0, or shall we say whatever's left of Chelsea 0. I mean, we will probably touch on why the game went ahead, or why it shouldn't have, or why it should have, or whatever else. We can discuss all of that. At the end of the day, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, weirdly. And judging from my girlfriend's reaction, judging from what Pys just said, before we went live, I seem to be a little bit less angry than a lot of people are, because Liverpool at basically full strength barely could break Wolves down and needed a penalty late on to beat them. So am I exactly shocked that we couldn't? No, not really. Especially with all the players we have missing. If anything, I'm like, from a few certain players, impressed with how they, how are you even capable of doing this right now? I don't understand. Kante is one of them. In all honesty, Saul is another one of them. I'm not saying he was amazing, and Kante was probably neither amazing. But from all the shit that Saul's gotten over the last few days, that was probably his best performance for us. As weird as that sounds. Maybe one other game. I can't remember who against it was, but it wasn't awful. And in a weird way, I kind of want to give them credit almost, but maybe it's just feeling a little bit deflated because I've almost given up now, because I'm like, well, 6 points off. Who knows when we're going to have games back? Who knows when we're going to have players back? So I don't know, but I seem to feel a little bit less angry and disappointed as a lot of other people. But at the end of the day, we dropped another 2 points, and we essentially only had one real chance. Unfortunately, that came to Pulisic. No, not unfortunately that it came to Pulisic. Unfortunately, Pulisic couldn't score it. It was a decent effort as well, I thought. It was a decent effort. It's a good save. It's a really good save. But because it was our only moment, he just had to score it. He just had to. Unfortunately, couldn't, which is tough, but here we are, another few points dropped. I'm joined by 3 very special guests. Appreciate you all for dropping in, as always, mates. Let me start with you, Clutch. How do you feel? Do you sit more on my side of the fence, I guess, or more on Pys's side, or where's the feelings at?
I feel a little bit better than I did after Everton, but I think that first half was a lot worse than the second half. The second half, we seemed to try a little bit harder. My problem at the moment is we don't seem to be rotating that front 3 at all, and around it's everything's static. It's always Mount right, Ziyech left, and then Pulisic down the middle when we know it's not working. So I don't know why we're not either shifting Mount to the middle, Ziyech to the right, and then Pulisic to the left at times, or Ziyech in the left. We did see it happen one time, and Pulisic got a decent cross in, but it was just, I think overall there's few positives. A 65% Kante today was absolutely insane for us. Just unfortunate that Wolves sat back as they did, because at one point I was going to screenshot it, and you seen it was 5 Wolves defender with only Pulisic in the middle, so it was never going to be a shock that we only were going to get one chance to make them hurt. But it's a game that never should have went on in the first place, and the fact that we asked for it to be denied and they said no, or we asked for it to be postponed and they said no, is actually just ridiculous. And then the refereeing on top of that with 2 stupid decisions that he made with the 2 yellow cards. I don't think they're yellow cards at all, but hey, we move on.
We do move on. Just for clarification, thank you, Clutch, for bringing it up, because I probably should have mentioned. So I try to avoid the C word, hence why I call it Rona, because we're still unaware whether this screws us over on YouTube or not. YouTube, please make a clear statement. That'd be useful. Anyway, so Chelsea were the first team in the Premier League to have to play, even though they had 7 Rona cases in their squad. We asked, like Clutch just touched on, we asked for the game to be postponed or cancelled, whatever you want to call it. The Premier League said, no, F off, basically. That's what they told us. I'm like, brilliant, mate. Cheers. Love that. But yeah, so not only did we have the previous cases, obviously, which we were already aware of, in Ben Chilwell, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Romelu Lukaku, and Timo Werner, we were informed from Friday by Thomas Tuchel that Kai Havertz tested negative now and should be fine. Turns out, the next day, he tested positive. So he now also caught the Rona. And adding to that, it's also ruined off the streak, apparently. And apparently also kind of Jorginho, although Jorginho seems to be in a similar situation with Kai Havertz against Everton, where he had positive tests and negative tests, but to be safe, they left him at home. So let's see what happens there. But yeah, we basically don't have players. Plus, obviously, the injuries that we have. I mean, I guess Jorginho and Ruben are having it. They were both unfit anyway. So, and Chile obviously goes the same. but it's not ideal. Andreas Christensen is injured. Is somebody else injured? Well, Chalobah got injured, so very much so depleted. Price, you seemed very, very annoyed before we went live. How do you feel, and where's the annoyance especially coming from?
I'm just fucking livid. At least against Everton, we created chances. I don't even want to talk much today. Honestly, I'm so angry at those players. Fuck, this should have been called off. Whatever. Once you get on that pitch, you perform. Those players today, fucking disgusting performance. Absolutely disgusting. Apart from 2 or 3 of them, honestly, I'm livid. I'm livid.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's Wolves. Like, even at our best strength team,
and we're Chelsea. Wolves are not good, bro. Wolves are not good.
Well, but they have City and Liverpool have the same problems with their best teams, though.
We should beat those guys. I don't like comparing to other teams. We should beat them today, where it's 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, whatever. Like, I can't even say much. I'm so angry. I'm fed up with this shit fucking depth we have. So bad. Some of these players need to go, man. They're so bad. They're so inconsistent. They have moments like a few times a season. Oh, we should give them another season. Fuck off, man. They're so bad. Honestly, I'm fed up with so many of these players in the team.
Hey, fair, to be honest. Like, I mean, for the first half, I honestly back your sentiment at all. I think the second half was quite a bit better, personally. But judging from my girlfriend, was just so annoyed by the first half that she barely looked at the second half. So maybe that happened to more people. I don't really know. But Jester, where do you sit in terms of, is it pure frustration? Is it anger? Is it just feeling defeated a little bit? What's the feelings like, mate?
I guess I'm the only one here that thought it was a good result with the team that was put out. When you play Trevor Chalobah in midfield, who's played center back all year, I don't want to hear that he's played defensive midfielder. We didn't have the midfield in the first half. Saul Niguez came on for us to get the midfield in the second half.
That's true. So,
for me, Wolves have conceded the least amount of goals outside the top 3. They were always going to be hard to break down. They put 5 people behind the ball and attack with the rest, and they attack on the break. And we really didn't get a hold of the game until halftime. And yeah, there were some poor performances. You know, the usual one turned in by Alonso, who got skinned by Keanu Hoover. Who is that guy? You're a professional footballer that plays for Chelsea. You're going to get skinned by that guy? Obviously, it's, we'll get into ratings
soon. Yeah.
You know, I've already heard the BS on Twitter. Oh, Pulisic should have scored that chance. Maybe so, but it was a good save by the keeper. It's not like he missed the target or hit it right into him. He had to stick out a paw to make that save. So, our only chance the real chance of the game. So, for me, it's a matter of no players, and the players we do have, a lot of them are playing out of position, and some are just not good enough to be here anymore.
So. It's true. Some of them are not good enough to be here. It's absolutely facts. What have I just seen here? Alonso was not his usual bad. I kind of agree with that in a way. Someone said we missed Jorginho massively today. We did, but everyone needs a break at some point. It's so difficult because honestly, my mind is like caught between what Jester said and between what Pi said and kind of what myself said, I guess, logically. But like I said, I mean, even at the best of times, going away to Wolves, I'm not expecting us to create chance after chance after chance to score 4 goals. Even if we have a full squad, even if we are in form, because the problem isn't just that we have a depleted squad. The squad that we do have remaining are, most of them, in poor form. So, that makes everything so much more worse, which is obviously half of the problem. But, I mean, we'll only talk about it for half a second, but I do want to talk about it. I don't understand why sport, and again, I'm an F1 fan, and I know none of you 3 are, but maybe some of the viewers are. I don't understand why sport, and apparently 2 different sports, have now just decided to not care at all about sporting integrity. I don't really understand. Why do some rules count for some and some other rules count for others? It just does, yeah. But even the money thing only makes half sense because this game wasn't even televised in the UK. I know, obviously, globally, sure, but the decision was made by a Premier League, by a UK-based company. So, like, most of their revenue stems from whatever they make in the UK, from just for the Premier League itself, the revenue their people get, right? So I just don't understand why. Like, why would we be the only team with 7 positive cases to have to play? Like, they called off the Brentford Man United game like 3 days in advance. Well, for us, like nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, in the end, you know, people on Twitter, certainly a few match-going fans, and I even understand that they were like, well, you can't call it off now. We're halfway to Wolverhampton, or we're already in Wolverhampton. No one's going to give these people their money for trains and whatever back. And I understand that frustration, and I understand why they say, you know, we should have just called it off the day before. But even if you don't call it off the day before, but we get another extra positive test in the morning, I'm just, like, we've requested it to be cancelled. And Thomas Tuchel, in my opinion, in a pre-match interview, made a very fair point. How is this ever going to stop if we're sat on a bus together for 3 hours? If we're sat in meetings together for hours? And now, obviously, on the pitch outside, maybe it's not particularly transmittable between the players. And I'm not going to pretend to be a Rona expert by any means now. Just trying to think logically, right? But how is this chain of every day in UK is ever going to stop if they just keep being on buses and everything together? To be honest, I'm surprised that if that's true, you're never back on my channel again, Ashraf. Anyway, I forgot what I was trying to say. To be honest, I'm surprised that someone like Kante, who has always been reported to be super worried about everything that's going on, even accepted to travel in the situation. Like, I'm surprised by that in the first place. I mean, hey, if either of you guys, if you guys say like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it, should it have been postponed or not, obviously fair enough. But if you have any thoughts on that before we get into the reactions, the ratings and stuff, let's talk about it. But Jester, what do you reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there with money, which is probably the case, but it's like, it's sport. I know all of it is money, but sport without fairness isn't sport and eventually doesn't make money.
When was it ever fair? The people with the most money always won. So here's
but we have all the money. Why can't we get our games called off?
Well, because the Premier League not only sells television rights in Europe and in the UK, but they sell television rights in the United States, right? And that's sold to NBC. And NBC
should have just pretended that Pulisic caught it, then they wouldn't have wanted to show it anyway.
Well, that's part of the reason, because Pulisic was going to be there. Plus, NBC has multiple channels, not just the main channel they put it on. They put it on one of their subsidiaries today. So you're asking that channel or that station, the people who bid for the rights and got their bid accepted, and you have advertisers that have paid for advertising to go in on a Chelsea game because they know Christian Pulisic could be playing, and they want to put their advertising on games that he's there because you have more faces looking at the TV. So that's the only reason this game went on, is to satisfy contractual obligation. It had nothing to do with the player's safety. I don't ever want to hear about that again. It had nothing to do with fairness. It had to do with the almighty dollar.
No, I obviously I completely agree with that, and I think we can all agree with that. But the problem is that there have been games with Manchester United who, in as much as we have Pulisic, they're still like globally they're the big, and Liverpool, but especially Man United, they're the biggest team.
That's not the United States.
No, it isn't. But even in the United States, like, again, I obviously don't know the stats, but it's not like far off. It's not like, oh, Chelsea, Pulisic, yeah, sure, but Man United is a big thing, even in the United States. Do you know what I mean?
He's still a bigger draw than teams.
Okay.
So it just is what it is. When you dance with the devil, sometimes you got to pay the piper, right? And they got in with the money and danced with the devil, so you got to pay the piper, and that's what we did today. It cost us 2 points. Again, in the best of situation, Wolves are hard to break down. They're back to first year when they came up. where they were very difficult to break down. They're back to that. And they sat 5 men behind the ball, and we had players playing out of position, some players that shouldn't have been on the pitch, but it's what we had to play. So we have to take this and say, look, we either learn from this experience and get better by this experience, or we fold. So which one is it going to be? Are we going to take this and say, hey, look, adversity, we kind of overcame it. Let's take these lessons. Let's move forward. Or we can all just fold and go home and call a season. And we finish where
we'll see what happens.
Which one is it going to be?
It might stop the season, but
no, I'm talking about us as a team. Do we pack it in and say, okay, well, title's over, so wherever we finish is fine, or do we continue to fight?
We need to fight.
Well, yeah, they need to fight, but some teams will cash it in and say, hey, look. And you'll see some players that say, okay, well, we're out of the race now, so I'm down tools. You don't want to see that from your team. So you could need to take it as a negative, or you can take it as a positive and move forward and say, hey, look, the world's against us. It's bunker mentality. We're a family. Let's get together. Let's play for each other and see if that can spur some things on. But that's all up to the gaffer. I have all respect and confidence that he's going to do that. It's just, look, we need to get our players back.
No, exactly. We do need to get players back. And see, this is why I love having Jesters on. Obviously, not as much as sometimes I would like, but when we do have him on, he brings a certain style of positivity, which I'm not sure where you found that from, but I kind of respect it. And I literally said the same very words, essentially, before the game. Didn't quite feel them after, but I'm glad you said it, so it reminded me of myself. Well, I was like, it's the world against us again. And who taught us how we deal with that? Jose. So we need to just get back into that mindset that we had under Jose, whether it was in the first spell or the second spell. The whole world's against us, and we'll just need to figure something out. Sure, we're 6 points off now. Maybe it won't work by the end. Hey, shit happens. Klopp didn't win the league in his first full season. Pep didn't win the league in his first full season. Hey, shit happens. I want to win the league. Maybe we go win it next year. Who knows? But big standing ovation for Rex Rubin here. Come on, $50. Are you mad, bro? Keep the blue flag flying. I appreciate it. I know performances haven't been good, haven't been good enough, but trying to stay positive about the club we know and love. I truly believe we will be competing for trophies each very soon. Kunde inbound. Well, hopefully you're spot on with every single word of what you said here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if I haven't highlighted or discussed more messages from the chat, I will definitely get to it in a little bit. And no, Kunte, we unfortunately cannot recall Gallagher anymore because he's played a certain number of games, which stops any recall clauses we have. But Pice, do you want to say anything about the game not being postponed or whatever, or shall we just move on?
No, move on.
Fair dues. Clutch, you as well?
Yeah, we can move on. Said my thing about it.
Fair enough. Let me just get the lineup up on screen and so we can actually discuss what we turn up with, and then also how each individual played, I suppose. Obviously, we touched already how many players we were missing. Andreas Christensen, I touched on for a second, has some sort of injury. No one knows what the injury is, or at least I don't know what the injury is. I'm not sure if anybody else
does. It's a back injury.
Sorry?
It's a back injury.
Is it? Why do we have so many back injuries?
That's what it's listed as. So what it is, I don't know. That's what it's listed as, a back injury.
No, fair enough. But still, if it is a back injury, how many bloody back injuries do we have? Like, Alonso is suffering with some back problems. Like, Jorginho has had back problems. Now, Christensen has had back problems. Like, I mean, Jorginho makes sense. At least he's carrying on midfield. But, can't really say that for Alonso and Christensen. But let me just fill this in quickly. Obviously, we had a back three of Thiago Silva in the middle, Rudiger on the left, and Azpilicueta again at right centre back. So no Aspi left wing back. Like we have been talking about a couple of times in our previews. Reece James was still a right back, so at least one positive is it wasn't Reece James that caught the Rona. Although Reece certainly didn't have a good performance. I think we can all agree on that. Can anybody remember whether in the first half it was Chalobah on the left or Chalobah on the right? I do not even remember, for me, perfectly honest with you guys.
I think he was more on.
I think he was more on the left.
They didn't say set in any position. They switched back and forth because I saw Chalobah on the right, Chalobah on the left, and Kante. Kante's going to do. I think Chalobah was instructed to be on the opposite side of Kante wherever Kante went.
Could be, to be honest. It could be if a big Beverly.
So I don't think we're going to give you too hard of a time if you miss that.
Nah, exactly. I hope so. I hope so. Otherwise, hey, if people want to come at my throat, come at my throat. But don't put Spider-Man spoilers in the chat. You get banned. I'm telling you. Someone did it already. I'm fuming. Literally going after this. If this turns out to be true, I will find this guy and turn into bloody Liam Neeson. I'm telling you. But anyway, Mendy. Pys. Some positivity. We kept the clean sheet for once. I mean, it only got us 1 point anyway. But we kept the clean sheet for the first time in 6 games. Is this something to be happy about, Pys?
Not really. It's only because of Thiago Silva. That was the only reason we kept the clean sheet today.
I mean, fair. But in terms of Mendy, would you give him a rating? I mean, last game we gave him an NA. So everything's possible. So you can give him an NA if you want. Yeah. You can make one save from the header where Alonso just let the guy go.
Yeah, pretty much an NA. Thought he was decent on the ball, but yeah, I didn't really have anything to do.
Fair enough. Clutch, what do you reckon? Rating?
I kind of want to do NA because he didn't really have much to do, and he just kind of, I guess he dove for that one early that got called offsides, but just an average 6, I guess. He didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything great.
I would probably slightly agree with that. Jester, what you're saying?
I got him at a 6.5, average 6 for the performance and 0.5 for the clean sheet. That kept us getting our point. So 6.5.
Fair. I mean, I'd probably go along with Clutch's 6. For me, it's like the save was decent. The one save that he did make, did he have to make another one? No. Could he have done anything about the offside goal? No, but it was offside anyway. So just for people that somehow didn't watch the game. So Wolves scored a goal, but it was called offside. Initially by the linesman as well. Maybe a little bit late, but called it by the linesman and then VAR confirmed it. I just found it funny the Wolves fans were charging FVAR, where I'm like, well, but the linesman raised his flag, just like before VAR. So what are you talking about VAR now? It makes no sense to me. And I'm not good. The reason why I'm giving Mendy a 6, even though I actually disagree with Pys in terms of the ball distribution. So I'm like, because I don't know how much of that was his decision and how much of that was instruction. But can we stop punting long balls when we don't have a forward that's taller than 5'10"? Like, sorry. I know midfield wasn't exactly like the best ball possession midfield in the first half, especially. But, like, sorry. We're not going to beat Wolves when we have Pulisic, Ziyech, and Mount up top. We're just playing one long ball after the other. And Mendy played like we did against, I can't remember who it was against. I think Leeds. We just punted one long ball to Pulisic after. I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know, was it even Pulisic against Leeds? Maybe it was Everton. Who knows? But stop it. So, but again, I'm not sure if that's just his decision or Tuchel's decisions. I'm not sure who to be angry about this at. Hence why I'm going to give him the 6. But it annoys me. And the same goes, by the way, for Rudiger, Thiago, and Aspie. Stop punting long balls to players that are way shorter than their defensive counterparts. That makes no sense whatsoever. Either play them long enough so you can actually run after them, but then you have to whiz them and not just punt it in the air and let it fall down. Even if the guy does make a run, it's impossible to do anything about. It needs to have some pace on it if you want to make that happen. So play proper balls or just save it. Or just save it. Just don't do that. Because in the second half, we stopped doing that. And all of a sudden, we looked a lot better. Still not great, but a lot better. Pissed me off. Anyway, Pys, anything you would like to add on Rudiger and Aspie?
Aspie was shit. I'll say that for sure. He was absolutely dog shit. Rudiger was okay, to be fair. I thought Rudiger was decent. Yeah, Aspie was fucking diabolical, though. Jesus Christ. Terrible.
What ratings would you give them?
Aspie 2, Rudiger 6.
6? Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even saying I disagree. I was just surprised by how you spoke about them individually. And then you have a 4-point difference. But no, fair. I'll just stick with you for Thiago Silva, and then we'll do the other guys for all 3. Why not? Thiago Silva, you said he was the main reason we kept the clean sheet. Certainly good performance from him without a shadow of a doubt. But what rating would you give him?
8. Probably man of the match. Yeah, I thought dealt with everything really well. Long balls, a lot of time, the bounces came over the top of his head, dealt with them really well. Adama Traore didn't make an impact because of Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva was very good on the ball, switched the play well, tried to get us forward, did everything a centre-back I would want them to do today. was one of the only ones out there that I'm happy with.
Fair. Let me go to you, Jester. I guess starting the same order that Pies to go with Aspie, Rudiger, and then Thiago. What do you reckon about all three of them?
I thought Aspie was a 4. Two's a little harsh because he did have the one good play in the box when he got moved to wingback. But he doesn't look at it anymore. He just looks like he's dead on his feet. Once you hit 30, you can always hit that brick wall. And it looks like he slammed headlong into it. Him and Reece James look like they have no chemistry whatsoever. You don't know who they're supposed to be picking up, whose runs they're supposed to track. And I expect better from the captain of the football team. So I'm going to give him a 4 with the caveat that he should not have the armband anymore. The armband should go to the man in the middle. So Rudiger for me, I'm going to give Rudiger a 6.5. I'm going to take 0.5 from Alonso just because he has to cover for him all the time. So for me, Rudiger's a 6.5. And Thiago, I understand giving him an 8, but I thought it was more of a 7 performance than an 8.
Fair. Sorry, I was just following half the chat, so you got to excuse me. What did you say?
You're fine. I'm not important anyway. 6.5.
Fair dues. So, well, I guess I'm not sure what to put that on as for now. And you said
6.25 would be the average.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. And for Thiago, you said 7, right?
I said 7. I think if we would have won, if Pulisic would have scored, you could give him an 8. But I don't go that high if we draw a game. He was outstanding, though. He always is.
It's true. He really always is. I let you go last, Clutch. For me, Aspie, I would probably have agreed with the 4 for Aspie. Do I think he was bad? Yes. Do I think he was any worse than he was against Everton? No. What did we give him? A 4. Or what did I give him? A 4. So I'd probably go with the same again. I would have given Rudiger, I would have gone with the 6, like Pies, rather than a 6.5, to be perfectly honest. Again, just because some of the pointless long balls, which is really frustrating me. But again, I'm not sure if I'm, deflecting some of my anger that I should be, having at somebody else, deflecting them at players like Rudiger when I shouldn't. I'm not 1,000,000% sure. And for Thiago Silva, to be honest, I think I'd be quite happy with the 7.5 we're on right now, kind of between you both, because I agree with both of you. In a way, he was certainly the most outstanding, but I feel like an 8 is too high for anybody. He was very good. Like, what more could he have done, I guess? But I stick with 7.5. I stick with 7.5 because I do think, even though he was the only one that did play good passes in the second half, I still think some of the passing from him also could have been a tad better, and that's why I don't want to go 8. Clutch, what about you? Aspie, Rudiger, Thiago?
I think Aspie was a 3 today. He lost possession way too many times. He killed possession way too many times. Defensively, he just seemed like he didn't understand what was going on. Sure, he had the one good moment when he pushed up, but I think that was a better pass from Rudiger than it was anything from him. I think Aspie is getting on in age, and unfortunately we had to use him there today because neither Christensen nor Chalobah could have played there. But I think we're getting to that point where we have to ask the question, is he able to do this in the Premier League much longer? I'd also agree with Pius when it comes to Thiago Silva. I think the 8's fine because he's the only reason we didn't lose. So I do agree on that point. And Rudiger, I'd stay at 6 for Rudiger.
Fair. I mean, so what do we settle on for Aspie then? Overall, so we sit
3.5. 3.5.
Fair.
I think it was 2 3s and 2 4s.
It's true.
I said 2.
Thiago,
okay, well, 3.5 is.
Yeah. Just to be nice to Pies, he seems so depressed. So let's give a little bit extra weight on this one position to Pies. Why don't we? Thiago Silva, I mean, 2 8s, 1 7, 1 7.5 is a kind of. I'll leave it at that. But we can say 2 8s, right? And Rudiger, we leave it to 6. That is fair enough. Let's move on. And let me also quickly read out another super chat by Rex. Appreciate you so much. Can you give Tuchel a rating? We will do. He's the last rating we hand out, mate. He's the last rating we hand out, and we will give him a rating. I've seen both too much slander and too much protection from Chelsea fans. I think he should maybe try different formation against these deep-lying teams. what do you think? I mean, we'll get to it in more detail later on, but in terms of just reacting to it quickly, my problem with change information is we have 3 days between every game. So when on earth would we be working on this different information? In an ideal world, I completely agree with you. If we had weeks off, I completely agree with you. But because we never train, like when do we train for games? The one time we had more time off between games was between last weekend and Everton. And then Tuchel gave them 2 days off instead of training. So when could we possibly have been working on different formations is my personal problem. Or not my personal problem, but why, if we did change it, I wouldn't necessarily expect it to work, because how could it possibly work to change something when you haven't had time to work on it, essentially? But again, we'll get into Thomas Tuchel's rating a little bit later, but appreciate the donation a lot. Let's move on to the wing-backs. Reece James, one of his worst performances for Chelsea today, I thought. Again, along with most of the team, improved in the second half. But in the first half, there was some passing that I'm like, Reece, what are you doing? Sorry, what are you doing? I'll give him because he did still have 2 decent crosses, but it's 2 fucking decent crosses, man. It's 2 decent crosses when our striker is 5'8", so don't cross in the first place. But I give him a 4.5. I couldn't decide between 4 and 5, so I'm going 4.5. But maybe I'm a bit harsh. I don't know. Let's see what the other boys say. Clutch, this time I'll go with you first. What do you reckon, Reece James?
I'm going to go with a 4. I think that was one of the worst performances we've seen of him this year. There were so many careless giveaways in the beginning of the game. Like that whole right side was just giving the ball away pretty much all game. Anytime I went over there, if you look at how many each times the possession loss, each of them have over 18. Every one of them have over 18 times possession loss. So I think when you're trying to create things and then you have a whole side that just doesn't work, I think that speaks to the level of way we were playing. James was not great today. So, I mean, I'd give him a 4.
Good thing we gave Aspie a 3.5, because I do still think it was better than Aspie, but I do see this 4 happening. But let's see what the other boys say. Pice, why don't I go with you? What do you reckon, Reece James? Obviously, I know we outvoted your 2 for Aspie, but in comparison to Aspie, he was still better. But what would you rate, James?
Yeah, I might go with a 4, to be fair. I think the main thing I was confused about today was where were those inverted midfield runs that he does? Like the last 2 games, he's been absolutely dominating, cutting inside from the wing-back role and taking control in midfield and pushing us forward. Wasn't there today. And overall, that was something that I just didn't get. Like even in the first half, Aspie was asking Tuchel who he was supposed to mark between Podence and another guy. Mount was asking whether he should drop deep or go forward. There was no organisation today. It was like no idea. It was like, I don't know. It was just a complete fuck up, honestly.
How do you know what they asked of?
Because the commentators, which the stream I was watching, were saying, because they were sitting near the dugout.
The stream I was watching said that
doesn't exactly
too.
bode well for Wolves' atmosphere, does it? If the bloody commentators can hear what the players are talking to the manager, fuck me. But I guess maybe it was shouted rather than talked in close distance, I guess. That is a problem. That is certainly a problem. 1,000,000%. I can't remember whether it was Jester or whether it was you, Pies, that said Reece and Aspie just have no chemistry between each other. It's awful. I don't understand why it worked to some extent last season, but recently, every time they play, like the amount of times they try to go for the same header, and then neither of them ends up going for it because they both think the other guys go. It's awful. Talk to each other, man. Especially when one of them is the captain. Talk, speak. What's the point? And then Reece James' dad says he wants to be captain. Then one of you needs to talk. Can't be that you two, especially these 2 individuals, can't fix each other. Like talk to each other, man. Flip's sake, man. But yeah, I mean, Pies agreed on the 4. So Jester, what do you reckon? Is 4 too low? Is it too high, or would you sit exactly there?
Yeah, I think the reason that he wasn't more inverted today is because Wolves played a 3-man midfield. And so I don't think there was a space to be inverted. The spaces were outside.
Space in the midfield, bro. It was one of the main areas where the space was. That's why Saul actually played well, because he never got pressed.
Well, yeah, they were laying off and sitting back at a certain point. But in the first half, there was no space anywhere. And it's because our midfield tandem was not very good. So I understand. For me, James is 4.5. Maybe I just see him as a 0.5 better than you all. So 4.5 for me.
All right. So I let the 4 sit because I couldn't really decide between 4, 4.5, 5. So I let the 4 sit. But, we will remember that just as a 4.5, let's say that. But Tottenham just took the lead against Liverpool. Harry Kane scored his second Premier League goal of the season. The end is truly near. But, I mean, I guess that's something. For me, reaction to what you boys just discussed here about positioning or why Reece didn't come inside. For me, it had neither to do with was there space, was there not. I do agree with Jester that there was space in midfield, like Pi said, but not where Reece would have run in the last 2 games. The space was deeper. And that what was the point? What would have been the point of him dropping deeper? But I do think the main reason why he didn't do that is because the only reason he did that in the first place in the last 2 games was because Jorginho and Ruben were both basically dead and couldn't run properly. And that's why Reece had to come inside to get some legs in the midfield. But now that, Chalobah initially, and then Saul and Kante actually could run a bit, we didn't need that and wanted to give us some extra because we struggled to create anything from the right in terms of width in the last 2 games because Reece was inside so much. So now that we could let him be outside again, I get the frustration of Pies, but I do think that that's kind of the only reason why I did it the last 2 days, the last 2 games is because the midfield couldn't run. But hey, we'll see. Marcus Alonso. Now, someone said in the chat earlier, Alonso was bad, but not his usual bad. And I fully agree with that. Because yes, did he get skinned by that guy, whoever their right back name is, I keep forgetting. Doesn't matter. But he was also not as bad as I've seen him. Like, he won some tackles. Doesn't usually happen. He kept the ball in a lot of situations, which doesn't usually happen. And his ball for Pulisic, for the only big chance we had, was actually really good. Like, that was a really good ball. And I know I'm going to probably hit myself on the head in a second, but I'm genuinely going to give him a higher rating than Reece James. I know Pice is going to hate me because Pice even texts me when I catch Alonso, man. So he's going to hate me, but that's why I'm going first. So, at least someone can share some positivity. At least, and hopefully you guys watching remember this as well next time you tell me I have an Alonso agenda. Because when he plays bad, I will tell you he's been playing bad. But today I thought he was half decent. Hence why I'm going to give him a 5. Might be a bit high, but I'm going to say it because I know it comes down anyway from the other guys, especially Pice. So that's why I'm going with that. I'll leave you last, Pice, just so, we can probably slowly work ourselves down unless I'm completely misjudging your reaction from what you texted me earlier. But I'll go with you next, Jester. What do you reckon, Alonso? Obviously, you said it earlier about how you got skinned and this and that. But again, by Alonso standards, not as bad as usual, I thought.
No, I was just looking at his statistics. So, he's so weak on the ball. And he's so slow. He's like a donkey. Donkeys are stubborn. You can ask them to go up the hill fast, but they're going to go at their own speed. And that's Alonso. He's a freaking donkey. He has one speed, and that's slow-mo. Yes, he plays forward passes, but he makes everyone around him worse. He looks better, but everybody else around him looks worse because he just sucks. I said this before. He sucks the chi out of everybody around him to power up and have 1 or 2 good moments. So for me, Alonso can't be higher than James. I'm giving him a 4.
Fair. So currently we sit on a 4.5. I'll go with you next, Clutch. What do you reckon, Marcus Alonso?
I mean, let's not forget that he ran away from the one defender when
He did.
They had that free open header. So, I mean, he can't be better than James. I'm sorry. I will give him the credit. What did you say?
I think he can. Because Reece is never in the box to defend across, you can't hold that against Alonso.
No, but you got to understand they were pushing Alonso all day because they knew they could.
Of course.
So, I mean, Alonso's only positive moment for me was his pass to Pulisic. That's the only positive. And one of the things I'm really getting frustrated with is there's no width on that left-hand side. James Felice provides width on the right. Alonso provides no width on the left. 0. So every time I was watching, like, whoever the right back was able to just sit next to Ziyech or Pulisic along with the 3 other center backs because there was no width outside. So there was just no space. And to me, that's one of the downfalls of Alonso is he doesn't provide that width. He likes to come inside. And Ziyech also likes to be inside. So, I mean, you can't hold that on him. But his overall performance, I'd probably say, was a 4. The only reason he doesn't get a 3 is because he had a good pass to Pulisic, but that's the only reason.
Fair enough. Then we sit on the 4 currently. Just to quickly mention, because I'm sure Pice will touch on it, the whole letting the defender go, I completely agree, shouldn't have. Because I have Nizar's tweet notifications on, I was following a very interesting conversation between Alex Goldberg and Nizar, where, Alex Goldberg was like, what is Alonso doing? And Nizar was like, well, what can he do? And a very funny back and forth. I will say, Alonso F that, and he shouldn't be letting the guy go. And that's part of the reason why I didn't want to go 8 for Thiago Silva. I honestly think that is a chain reaction of Thiago having bad positioning for once. Because Thiago pushed too far forward, meaning Rudiger had to let the guy that in the end headed the ball go to close Thiago's man down, who Thiago let alone. And then Alonso would have had to close Rudiger's man down, and he should have done, but he wouldn't have started if Thiago didn't let his own man go in the first place. I will say that. But, Pice, hit me. How bad was Alonso in your opinion?
Well, you've given him 5-4. You said 5. I'll say 0.5. Minus or 0.5 point for the pass. Other than that, I just prefer not to speak. He is genuinely the worst, or not the worst, one of the worst players I have ever watched at Chelsea. And I will do knee slides when this guy leaves the club. And if you don't like it, I don't give a shit. He is terrible. Hopefully, he gets out of the club as soon as possible. He is shocking. We have been absolutely diabolical since Chilwell got injured. And I'm sorry, the amount of excuses and the amount of slack that people cut for him just because he scores a few important goals. Like, just do one, man. He's so bad.
Has he even scored a goal
0.5.
this season?
First day against Crystal Palace. One of his trademark free kicks. Well done to him. But it's a shame you're not a good footballer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, today, like I said, he never got dispossessed, actually. Rhys James got dispossessed twice. His pass accuracy was slightly less than Rhys's, but not far off. So, like I said, by his standards, I don't think it was as bad today, but hey, everybody's entitled to have a different opinion. Not quite sure if 3 is actually the middle here. Go on, Pice. What do you want to say?
No, I was just referring he was shit. I mean, there was a few times where he tried to play out of a tight space and my eyes were bleeding, literally. I can't with this guy anymore. I just can't. I've had enough of him. I'm done with him. I can't. I literally...
Bro, I think we all are.
I'm getting to the point now
someone in that club decided he's better than Emerson.
Bro, I'm getting to the point now where I don't want to watch Chelsea when he plays. He pisses me off that much. There's something about him. He just aggravates the fuck out of me. He gets me so angry, man. I don't understand it. Just boils my blood.
No, it's true. It's fair. I mean, I'm not sure if 3 is the actual middle. Maybe it's 2.5 is the middle. I don't know. I give him a 3 because I can't bother to calculate that now. I mean, unless anybody else wants to, please do. But otherwise, I would now move on to Trevor Chalobah, who obviously had to come off at halftime with one of the most unfortunate injuries I've ever really seen, because he tried to clear the ball running backwards. Thiago Silva tried to clear the ball running forwards. And then it's just collapsed into each other. Chalobah did manage to keep playing, but did then come off at halftime, was replaced by Saul Niguez. Yeah. I don't think it was... The offside goal was also defended by Alonso. Fair clutch. Clutch put that in the private chat here. But was offside. So, like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, Chalobah... I'm not going to blame Chalobah for this at all. I think it's more we've realized second half we need to change something. But Chalobah and Kante as a collective were way too defensive in the first half. Like, they were way too deep. The gap between them two and the front 3 was shocking. We had no press. Like, Chalobah and Kante didn't want to press together. In the second half, then the instructions clearly changed and Kante was allowed to push way higher up. So I'm not sure why exactly that was the plan, because it's fair enough if you want to sit them deeper, but then the front 3 need to come a tad deeper as well. It's pointless if the front 3 stay high, but everybody else stays deeper. That doesn't work. If we come deeper as a collective, because we struggle at the moment and we want to kind of force using counterattacks, maybe that's a fair idea. But just having the defenders deep and having the attackers high, to me, makes no sense. But again, this wasn't Chalobah's fault. I would give Chalobah just an average 6. I don't think he did many things particularly right, but I don't think it did anything particularly wrong either. And the yellow card he got, Should it have been a yellow card? I'm not sure. I think that's one of the ones that Clutch touched on. I mean, maybe, but nothing too outrageous in my opinion. So I'll go 6, but it's a tough one. Jester, where do you sit on it?
Yeah, I don't think he came off because of an injury. I think he came off because he got up and started playing. It didn't look like he had any hitch in his giddy up. For me, he came off because the midfield two were not working at all.
But wouldn't we have put him into defense then, with how much Aspie has been struggling?
You would think. I don't know if maybe he wasn't 100%, and that's why he wasn't put back there.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe it's one of those tweener injuries where you could, if you want me to play, I could do it.
But I'd rather
we just
not,
don't know until a press conference from Tuchel if he is actually injured. I thought he was a 5. I don't want to see him as a midfielder anymore, unless you're playing him as a deep holding midfielder. Because
well, I guess Soul did that second half. If we did that from the get go in the first half, would have been a bit better, I think.
Well, when Saul outplays you, and you look better when you're not on the pitch, when your replacement comes on and the team looks better, you can't have an average rating. Okay, he didn't do a whole lot wrong, but he didn't do a whole lot right.
No, I agree.
So for me, he's a 5. I'll be fine with a 5.5. I just think that he doesn't make decisions quick enough as a midfielder. It's okay. He's a really good center back. And because he's been a midfielder, his ball playing skills from a center back position are above average. But when you put him in a midfielder, his ball playing skills for a midfielder are average. Does that make any sense?
Especially as someone that's not used to playing in midfield regularly.
Right.
I'm sure if he had regular game time midfield, he would adapt to that a lot. But I completely agree with what you said. I mean, Melly said Tuchel said he was in a lot of pain post-match. Okay. So maybe it was injury-related. I guess we'll find out more when we ourselves watch the press conference or in the next press conference, I guess. But who knows where that takes place, because the Premier League and football might be stopped tomorrow. So who the hell even knows? Just to quickly read out the super chat here by Pepe. Appreciate it a lot, saying the amount of luck City's had this season is mad. I mean, I didn't watch their game. I just heard Newcastle should have had a penalty, but they lost 4-0. So, even if Newcastle had that penalty, would it have changed anything? Probably not. Against Southampton, though, it would, but that would have been 1 point less. So, we still would be 5 points behind them then. But I appreciate the donation, mate. I'll go to you, Pice. What do you reckon, Chalobah? Yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think a 5. I mean, I actually quite like the idea of the start kick-off, but too many loose touches, I think, heavy touches. Was quite aggressive in the midfield, but I don't know. I thought the guy next to him was sensational today. So, yeah, I think an average 5.
Fair. And Clutch, what about you for Chalobah?
If we're going on 5 as the average, I'd probably give him a 5. I don't think he did anything particularly wrong. He was unlucky, in my opinion, to get the yellow and unlucky to have to come off. But him coming off actually made us look better at the end, so it's not his fault, but I just give him a 5.
Fair enough. Before we get to Kante, because Soul actually, even though he was only a sub, and usually we do subs at the end and with a star rating or whatever, because Chalobah and Soul actually played the same amount of time, let's quickly do Soul straight away. Like I touched on already, fair play to him, honestly, because, and I tweeted this yesterday or whatever it was, I've seen a lot of slander for Soul, and not that I necessarily disagree with criticizing him, not by any means. We can all agree he has been diabolical. But some people need to really just calm the way they are angry at footballers. You can say someone's shit. You can say someone's awful. You can say whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want. But don't always, there's no need to always go abusive. There's no need, right? Do you know what I mean? Especially, I guarantee that he's more upset by how bad he's been than any of us. I guarantee he's more upset by that than any of us are. And yes, I know the whole laughing at the Matthew Harding. I didn't even see it, so I can't judge it. But, if you never laughed while you were doing something bad, I'm sure you have. So, but anyway, for them to bounce back today and come in a difficult situation today, I thought he did well. Did he do anything special? No. But he kept it simple. He didn't do anything outrageous. What I liked from him, he actually acted a little bit like a leader. He was telling people, you need to move and you need to move and you need to push up here. And I was quite, I'm not sure if he was saying the right things, obviously. But, I like that, we had a talker in midfield, because neither Chalobah is that, nor Kante is that, which in my opinion is partly why the midfield didn't work as well in the first half. So did a decent job. He honestly did. I don't want to go too, and yes, obviously once he was dispossessed really badly and he took too long, but I also think he was waiting for an Alonso run and that run just never came, so he never passed the ball. Because he did tell Alonso, like literally 10, 20 seconds earlier, he kept pointing to the left side, go, go, go. And he was literally on the ball, just walking, waiting for the run. It never happened. Should he lose the ball? No, of course not. I'm going to go 6.5 because I feel like 7's pushing it a bit too much, but I do genuinely think he made us better. I do genuinely think it was quite good and a positive display from him. If there's a positive, it's him and Kante today. Everything else is not positive. So maybe Thiago, but for Thiago, it's more expected. But for Sul, it was a positive surprise, for me at least. So I'm going to go 6.5, but let's see what the other boys say. Clutch, what you reckon?
I have a 6.5 too. I think he changed the game when he came on. I mean, he had 70-some touches within 45 minutes, so that just shows like they were trusting him in possession, and he did have that one time. The one time Alonso got beat on the wing, and there was a cross, he was the one there to deflect it out. So, I mean, he positionally today was a lot better than we've normally seen. So I'd say 6.5 because he changed the game when he came on.
He really did. I mean, again, I don't think it was just him. I think it was also the fact that we let Kante go a bit, which just pushed Wolves back and allowed, everything to be a bit calmer. But judging from the chat here, I mean, Son missed a sitter earlier. Apparently now Dele Alli missed a sitter. Unfortunate, but it's one of these games where I want Liverpool to lose, but I always want Spurs to lose. So, I'm not exactly upset. I don't want Spurs to win 3-0. I'd rather they win 1-0. So, but obviously if Liverpool still turn around, I'll be annoyed that Spurs missed their chances. But anyway, 2-6.5 so far. Pice, what do you reckon? So, a little bit of a positive today for you, or still not enough?
Let me know first. Can you hear my background at all?
No.
Okay, because I have the game on. I was just watching. Alisson actually saved it from Ali.
Fair.
But you should have scored. But yeah, anyway, Saul was good. But I'll say this. I said this with Verley the other weekend, innit? Be careful. Praise in isolation. Praise on the game. Don't, make any conclusions to the future or even the next few games. Maybe if the game against Brentford goes ahead, we start him. Probably will. But do I want to see him in the Premier League again? Not particularly, no. If I'm honest with you. So, I mean, I'll give him a 6 for today. But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? Praise in isolation. I've seen too many worse things from him, if I'm honest.
That is fair enough. But how many appearances has Saul even had for us? 5? And there was 2, I think it was. And there was 2 decent ones and 3 bad ones. So, 50-50. Yeah, kind of. But Jester, where do you sit? We still sit on a 6.5 for now, but you could change that. So
yeah, I'm gonna say 6.5. Look, we played so much better in the second half than the first half, and we made 1 substitution at halftime. Am I correct? And that was Saul. So he changed the game for us for a positive. So for me, he has to be a 6.5.
Yeah, fair. I back it. And now we get to a man who I'll give an ovation today. Ngolo Kante, that might have been the best return of an injury before you're actually ready to be returning I've ever seen. Was he, in terms of normal Kante, amazing? No. But in terms of coming back from 2.5, whatever it was, ages out, and especially consider he literally only started Juve and was actually out before that too, right? So that today was incredibly impressive. The fact that he managed to play 90 minutes, the fact that he, outside of Silva, was without a shadow of a doubt by far our best player, is so incredibly impressive. Could he have done things better? 1,000,000%. Everybody will agree on that. So in isolation on just today's game and ignoring the fact that he just came back from an injury, I'll give him a 7.5. But if I included the whole coming back from an injury and how he came back from an injury and how still good he was, especially in the second half when he had a bit more freedom, I would give him a 9. But I'm not sure how you guys want to see it, because then we need to change rating so drastically, because CH looked like he was in pain when he came off. So was he injured? Then how harsh can we be on rating for him? Do you know what I mean? So that's why let's just do generally just rating the performance and then just praise the whole that he came back like verbally rather than, physically in terms of rating. That's what I'll do. But obviously you boys explain how you see things, of course. So I'll go first with you this time, Pies. Why don't I? So, what do you make of Kante? Do you see what I mean? I just think, I mean, some people will say give him an 8 and 9, but I'm like, bro, we drew 0-0. So like, and his second half was basically a number 10. So I'm not sure we can go that high, but it was still incredibly impressive.
Well, I wanted to give Silva an 8. I wanted to give Kante an 8 as well because I thought they're both our best players. I thought both of them were just phenomenal. You know, even though we drew 0-0, they were just individually stood out so much. Kante was so good on the ball. Today was just ridiculous. I thought he was going to look, you know, just rusty. Same with Kovacic, to be fair. They both look surprisingly fresh, I thought.
Not sure about Kovacic, but we'll get to that.
Really well. I thought he did a few good dribbles and stuff. I didn't think he looked rusty. I thought he looked good on the ball. He didn't have any loose or heavy touches. But anyway, I thought Kante, was really, really good. And there's obviously a debate going around whether or not it could have been a penalty at full time. The ball into the box. There's a picture going around. Clearly stamps on his foot, but
I didn't even see it.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, by the picture, it's a clear penalty, but there's no like zoom in video yet. By the picture, it's a clear penalty. He was our best player with Silva today by far.
Can we, by the way, all agree that it was not handball by him in the first half? Because some Liverpool fan was tweeting me it's blatant handball, and even some Chelsea fans thought it was handball because he didn't see the replay. I thought the replay made it very clear that it was kind of like his stomach or his chest, right?
Yeah, it's also 1-1 now. Jota's just scored.
Oh, flip sake, Spurs. Useless pricks. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we have a 7.5 and an 8. I'll say 8 now because, like I said, if I include the whole injury thing, I would have gone higher anyway. So let's put an 8 down for now, and let's see where the other boys lead us. Jester, what you reckon?
Yeah, well, to start off, I thought it was a penalty when I saw it live in the game. I was yelling at my TV. It's a pen. It's a pen. I don't know if they said that he got to the ball first, but he definitely stamped on Kante's foot. And whether he got a piece of the ball, I know that that's not always the decider either. I think that it should have been a penalty. I think that Kante, there's no surprise. Kante comes back clean sheet, right?
No, it's true.
But he was part of that midfield pivot in the first half that didn't control it.
Exactly.
So I can't give him an 8. I think I gave Thiago a 7, did I not? And we ended up at a 7.5. I don't think I can rate Kante any higher than Thiago Silva. I think they're both our best players. So 7.5 for me. I think he was better in the second half than the first half.
I completely agree. And again, the penalty situation, I haven't seen it. But I never saw anyone complain drastically, which is half the problem when Kante is fouled. He won't complain as loudly as some other players will. And unfortunately, referees are stupid, especially when they're called David Coote. And, they need to be shouted in their face to understand what life is. So, that's half the problem. But Clutch, 7.5, 8, where do you sit on Ngolo?
Kante was my man of the match. I think he was absolutely brilliant. I think he did have a couple passes that he probably should have played a little bit better. But considering he just came back from injury, I can't really blame him for that. He had the one through ball to Pulisic that was a little too far that Pulisic probably could have made something of if it was a little bit better that he had to kick back out. But I think overall, Kante was normal Kante. He was everywhere. Anytime they had the ball, he was closing them down. He won like 8 or 9 of his ground duels out of like 10 or something like that. Like, I think he's just brilliant. And to come back from injury, to give him just a 7.5 or a 7, I think is a disservice to him. I mean, yes, we drew, but the guy just came back from injury, played 90 minutes, and played well for most of the 90 minutes.
Fair enough. Hey, I'll give him the 8 on screen, even though then we have 2 different ratings for Silva. But I was like, I'm taking the slight control over with Silva when we was caught in the middle, and I'll give you guys the slight control with Kante. I will also say one thing: not only do I think he got better because he got more freedom in the second half, and because Saul was maybe helping a bit more than Chalobah. I'm not even sure if I fully agree with that, but I also think he looked like he got more and more confident in his own body. At the start, he didn't seem as willing to go full sprint as he did the longer the game went on. So I feel like he was kind of almost feeling his own body out to see how much can I do. And I think that's also partly why he got better and better and better personally. Maybe I'm, again, projecting things, but that's how I saw it. The front three, man, it's a tough one, really, because we can slate them, and we will slate them to some extent now. But when you took a freeze frame out of, especially the first half, but even the second half, the way Wolves play, a back five essentially, and then a three in front of them, and then we just have three players caught between, like five behind them, three in front of them. And because our midfielders, especially in the second half, were so deep, they were the only three in that area ever. And even if we fed them the ball, they were always like stormed at by 2 or 3 Wolves players at all times. And because the Wolves defense was always 2 or 3 yards further closer to Wolves goals than they were, also the over-the-top balls didn't quite work. Also the over-the-top balls, whenever they were played, were kind of always awful. So obviously that doesn't help. So I do want to say, as much as I will be critical of all 3 of them, that kind of game, especially when none of them is a proper striker that can actually hold someone off properly, is probably the most difficult game you could have put any of these 3 players in. With how much we struggle to create things, having Alonso, having Reece, having a poor day, having the midfield to sit so deep in the first half, it doesn't get more difficult for these 3 forwards than that today. Well, maybe Liverpool and City, but it's difficult for different reasons, right? Let's start with Hakim Ziyech, who was the guy that was subbed off also for Kovacic, weirdly. But anyway, Hakim Ziyech didn't do much today. I also thought he didn't really receive the ball much today. Would have been more in the second half because we used the left side more in the second half, while in the first half, neither Alonso nor Ziyech were particularly involved in anything. But yeah, for me, it's difficult for me to decide how much value I give the fact that it was so difficult and how much I let them off for it being so difficult. Because like I said, City and Liverpool barely created anything against Wolves either. I mean, Liverpool needed a late penalty to win the game. And when I say late, I mean injury time. So I'll give him a 4.5. But if we ignore the fact it was difficult, I would have said 4. And if we fully give it, it was difficult, I would have given him a 5. Hence why I go somewhere between. But it's a difficult one for me to call, honestly. What am I saying? So he looked pretty crap at no service. Yeah, it's a tough one for me. Who do I go first? Who wants to go first? Clutch, why don't I go with you first?
I'm probably going to get a little bit roasted for this, but I think he was the worst of the front 3, to be fair. I mean, his normal passing wasn't there. He was losing the ball in areas, and it looked like he was playing further back. He just wasn't getting involved. And one of the things I've liked about Ziyech over the last couple weeks is that he is the guy who's always making the sprints back to go and recover the ball. He wasn't really doing that. He wasn't really pressing today. I don't know if that was instruction or whatnot, but I think 4.5 is fair. He wasn't as involved as probably he normally is. So, but I also don't like him playing on that left-hand side. I thought that was if you're going to play Ziyech on the left-hand side, you're going to have somebody who's going to be able to get in the box and get the ball. Pulisic is not that guy. So I don't really want to blame any of the front 3 because I think positionally they were left out to dry today. And for a game like we had where you had 5 people sitting on basically in their box, you're really not going to get anything. I just think if you would have moved Ziyech over to the right and Mount to the left, at the very least for that, then you probably could have at least had shots from outside the box, which we just don't do. We never take shots outside the box anymore. And I think teams are getting privy to that, so they're just not going to guard outside the box, so there's no danger. So it's just guard inside the box, meaning none of our strikers have space. I'd probably go with a 4.5, though.
I fully agree with that criticism that we don't shoot from outside the box enough. I 1,000,000% agree with it. Chalobah. Mason out 1 against Everton, which shook the deflection, and Pickford somehow scraped out from the far post, although some people were saying it might have gone wide anyway, which it might have done. But today, none of it, which is disappointing. But yeah, I mean, 4.5, so we have 2 on that so far. Jester, I'll go with you next. What do you reckon?
4? What's the use? Seriously. And this is a carryover from the Everton game where he was just as poor. I know he had more shots, but he only had 1 on target out of 4. He's a volume guy.
I'll ask you something. Sorry to interrupt. What are you giving him a 4 for? If you said there's no use, why is he not a 0?
Because
he didn't do anything. He didn't dribble. He didn't create. He didn't shoot. 0. Has to be.
Okay. Well, you know what, Pies? Since you're the man, I'm gonna follow
I'm just
your
asking
lead
you a
and give him
question.
a 0.
I'm asking
No,
you a
I
question, but
Zero.
I want to know
I
what
don't
the
rate
points
people
are
as
for.
a 0 unless they just have a mare of a game.
I forgot he
To
was on
me,
the
he's a
pitch.
4, or we could even go with a 3. I don't think he was any better than Alonso.
I would
I mean-
agree, but I would have given Alonso a higher rating.
Like with
So-
Alonso, I give him half a point because he made the ball. I don't remember anything Ziyech did in the whole game.
No, he
Yeah,
didn't.
but by that logic, why is
But-
Mendy not getting a 0? Because he didn't do anything either. Because he didn't have to, sure, but
But Ziyech is in his prime years and he's an attacker. He should be single-handedly winning or creating us a chance to win for this game today.
He doesn't. He's a volume guy. You have to have the ball at his feet, and you have to pump in 20 or 30 balls before one goes in the back of the net or one becomes an assist. That's not the type of game we were playing today. He's just not good on the ball.
Exactly, he's
easily
rubbish.
removed.
He has no use for us.
I mean, while I don't necessarily disagree that he has no use for us or that he should certainly be
He
doing
doesn't
better,
fit our
I feel like you
system.
need to be a lot worse to get a 0 than what he did today.
Yeah, I mean, he was physically there. He didn't cost us a goal. He didn't get a
He
red
didn't cost us a
card.
goal. He didn't miss a sitter. So he didn't miss an easy assist type thing. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like,
So that's why I gave him a 4. He was utterly. We could have played without him, and it would have been any different. So,
yeah,
I'm gonna be nice and give him a 4. I just don't think he is Premier League ready or quality. He just does not have the strength to hold on to the ball when he has to.
I agree with that part. I'm not sure if that will forever be, but in current I say that I do think he has games where it works, but today was not one of them. But yeah, so we have. I mean, Pice, you're going to say 0, but do you want to elaborate on that more, or?
I mean, I already said it didn't create anything. Can't dribble. Every time, and there was like 3 times down the left-hand side where he got the ball, and he tried to take someone on, lost the ball instantly. Like, what is your use? Like, you're in your prime years. Prime, you're 28. Sort yourself out. So bad, man. I don't understand. These guys, he can't stay here next season. He's useless. Fucking useless.
Fair. I mean, to be democratic, obviously, I'll give it the rough 2.5 now. I'm not sure if that's fully democratic here, but that's what I'm going to put down anyway.
Just another poor decision from the scouting recruitment, yet again. Our attacking signings the last few years have been so fucking bad. So bad.
It's true.
And
It's
I
true.
try and give these guys time. I try and give Werner time. I try and give Pulisic time. Even Lukaku, I'll give him time. But, at some point, you just got to think, what's the point if they're going to do it just a few times a season? We're never going to win leagues with these guys. They're not good enough.
Harsh, but maybe true. Harsh, but maybe true. Let's get to Mason Mount. I don't think he did a lot more than Ziyech, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I mean, more involved he was, and I'm not sure if that's just his stature in the squad where he's slightly more involved or whether he was making sure he was more involved. So I would have given him a tad more than Ziyech, but only 0.5 more because I literally think they would have been the same. So that's the problem now, because if Pice doesn't agree with this, that they were similar, then we're going to have Mount way higher than Ziyech, which I don't initially want. But I don't want to. I personally didn't think Ziyech was 2.5, and I don't think Mount was 2.5. So it's tough. It's tough now. So these two might spread in rating now, even though for me personally, they would have similar ratings. So I would, to be honest, I'd probably give Mount the same 4.5 I would have given Ziyech. Maybe I changed my mind to give Ziyech a 4 as well. In hindsight, now that I've heard you boys talk about it as well. Yeah, I will go with that, but we'll see what you boys say. I'll go last on Pulisic. So, Pice, I went last with you for Hakim Ziyech. So, what about Mason?
He was shocking again. Not again, but he was shocking today. He was really, really bad. One of his worst performances. The cutbacks from him today were terrible. I couldn't believe it. I don't know what to give him. I'm surprised, honestly. The intensity was there, but on the ball and stuff could be so much better. His end product could be so much better today. I don't know. Something low.
Something low.
Yeah.
So what are you
something
saying?
low.
Like 3?
The thing is, I don't know if I'm a hypocrite if I say he was better than Ziyech, because again, like
I know your problem now. I know your problem.
Mount got in the positions which Ziyech didn't, but Mount also didn't fucking do anything when he got into the positions. So like, how can I give him any higher than a 0? Like, I'd be a hypocrite. It's just.
Yeah, but if we do that, what do we do someone if they have, like, by that logic, Mendy should have had a -5 against West Ham.
Well, I said give him an NA because I like.
No, not today. Against West Ham when you had the 2 howlers.
Yeah.
If what Ziyech and Mount did today is worth a 0, then Mendy should have had a -5 against West Ham.
Oh no, sure. I watched that. I watched the shot back, the deflected shot. You should have saved it for sure. The back pass I still think is debatable because I don't know. I always said if he smashes that, I think he just clamps and breaks his leg anyway. But
I agree. You just should roll it out for a corner.
yeah, I don't know. That's a while ago. But generally, I can't give any of these attackers like. And maybe you just want to give them all 1s from me because they're all so bad. Like they didn't fucking do anything. Like, I don't understand. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's a deep block, but as you Chelsea players or not, like, we played like a League One side. Genuinely. I don't understand, man.
A little bit, yes. But I'm going to have to push you for some rating for Mason, mate.
1. All
1.
3 of them 1s. All 3 of them 1s.
Okay. So shall I put Ziyech up to a 3 then if you changed it from 0 to 1?
If you want to. If you want to.
See, I'm just trying to cheer you up a little bit, bro.
Mate, I am honestly, and I'm not even being reactionary either. I even at the full time, like I went back because I had a stream up. Well, it's just I could go back and watch some of the stuff, and I was just like, oh my god.
Can't be bothered yet. No,
Mount has had a bad game, but Chelsea fans slandering him is stupid. He has a good season, but he was bad today. Completely agree with Pice. No, I'm not slandering him, by the way. Maybe I am today. He's had a very good season. And actually, before kickoff, I thought he was our only hope of winning this game. But,
yeah, same.
You know, when he got into those positions today, he didn't deliver. So I can't go back on my words and not put the same energy towards, you know, him as I do to others. He has to get the same rating across the board. From me, anyway. I don't know. You guys can think different, but I just thought it's fucking shit. I don't know.
No, I don't disagree with you that they were shit. I just disagree with you what rating that shit gets them, essentially. Because I see a few interesting. I'll read Rex's comment in just a second. I see a few interesting things in the chat, like neither Ziyech nor Mount are the type of players to beat a man, which is true. Which is why I personally, I mean, would Mount and Ziyech be good as a false 9? No. Is Pulisic probably better than them as a false 9? Yes.
I've never liked
Pulisic against an opponent like today be more effective on the side than either Ziyech or Mount? I also think yes. So at that point, just bring Barkley or Mount on and put them in up top and let Pulisic out wide.
Laurenz, I'm not sure whether Clutch or not was watching more closely than me, but the one time Pulisic went to left, he went down the line and he crossed the ball out of play like Saul did against who the fuck did we play? Everton. Yeah. Like I don't know, man. I'm so I don't know. I'm almost speechless, honestly.
We'll get to Pulisic in a second, and we'll let Clutch talk about this in half a second. Let me just read out the super chat by Rex again. Appreciate you so much. Saying again, I mean, Pi's half read it out anyway, but let me just for to be fair to Mr. Rex, who's donating so much here. Mount had a bad game, but Chelsea fans standing him is stupid. He has had a good season, but he was bad today. Completely agree with Pice that we can't win the league with these attackers. Oh no, well. With these current fit attackers, 1,000,000%. In general, I think if we make Lukaku finally work a little bit, we can. But I'm not sure if we're now too far off. We'll see. But again, appreciate the donation. I'll go with you last, Jester, Mason, just because, we know how you talk about Mason often. So let's see. Let's give Clutch the chance first. What do you reckon? Obviously, you agreed with my 4.5 for Ziyech, and you did think he was the worst. So by that logic, I would almost presume you give him out either also 4.5 or a 5. Or have what the guys have since you spoke about Ziyech, has that changed what you would have given him as well, and now it changed also what you would give Mason?
My ratings are based off of, I think it's hard to be like overly critical on these guys. Yes, they were not good, but like Mount today, his corners were poor. He lost possession 25 times for the second game in a row. Every time he got the ball, he kicked it right into somebody. I think that is why I'm not a big fan of having Mason Mount unless you have a guy like Lukaku or Pulisic coming in off the left in that far corner where you need like a right back to track him to do it. I'm not particularly a fan of him on the right if Pulisic is going to be good down the middle, because at this point, what you're asking these guys to do is either have those runs like they made against, like he made against Everton, where he gets into that position to kind of cut across the goal, which he didn't do because there was no space to do that today. So you're asking him and Ziyech to spam crosses to Pulisic, which is just an outrageous thing to think for me. I don't when I come to Tuchel, it's going to be a lot harsher than it's going to sound a lot harsher than it's going to be, but like just we don't move in the front three, and it's annoying me to no end because what's Mount's biggest strength when it comes to scoring? Outside the box, but we don't shoot because he doesn't have a position to shoot on the right. Why are we not flipping that? If you're going to have it like this, Ziyech on the left, Pulisic or Mount on the left, Ziyech on the right. At least that way you can have people shooting from outside the box. They're never going to shoot from the other sides like they are. So why are we doing it? Pulisic's never going to get in the box to get over a header over Connor Cody. Never going to happen. So for me, yes, Mount was not great for a lot of things he did. But at the same time, I can't be as harsh as like Pius is, even though I understand what Pius is saying. I can't be as harsh.
I agree with that, actually. I agree with a little bit of like, I've never liked Ziyech on the left and Mount on the right. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like even when Mount on the left, like you said, can cut it and shoot. Prime example, Liverpool. Like he's not afraid to do that. Liverpool away in lockdown. He's done it quite a few times. It's like why Hudson-Odoi likes playing on the left, because he can cut in on the right. Whereas on the right-hand side, he's got no left foot. So, I don't know. The only time I've ever seen these two work in this position was the play against West Ham. And even that was it was a good ball.
More of a moment rather than that work.
It was a moment. Like, it's not even you know what I mean? It's not... It's a great goal. It's a 1 in a million, you know?
I completely agree. If you would just let me, before I go to Jester, sorry, Clutch, what rating would you give Matt?
I gave Ziyech a 4.5, so a 5.
Fair. So that puts us back up to 4, I guess, for now. But let's see. My reaction to this is, I know Jester said previously he liked with the 2 left-footers, 2 right-footers. And what game was it that we used it in? I think it might have been Champions League. Was it away at Malmo when we scored with the Callum assist to Havertz, maybe? Whoever it was that tapped it in then from close range. When we play on the counter, right foot on the right, left foot on the left, fine. When we have Lukaku or Giroud in the middle, left foot on the left, right foot on the right, not the biggest fan, but fine. Because at least they can cross to a big man who has a chance of winning a header and scoring with his head with their stronger foot. They can play the crosses with their stronger foot. But when Pulisic is your number 9, and I don't even like to call it a false 9 because we don't let Pulisic or Havertz play like false 9s. We play them like 9s. Even though they don't have to height for it, they still essentially play like 9s, they're not false 9s. But when you have him, who is like both Pius and Clutch correctly said, he's not going to win these headers. I see the idea, get him behind, cut it back, let them do that on a strong foot, sure. But that doesn't work when your opponent is as deep as they are and we are so slow as we are in attacking. Because then you're never going to get these cutbacks to anyone that's free. So by that point, just let them be, not inverted wingers, but let them be on the stronger foot on the inside and let them shoot. Because exactly like Clutch said, if the one thing, at least, like, I don't even care if we start like this or play like Ziyech on the left man like this in part of the game. But the fact that we never switched it around, I don't even agree with Clutch that we need to switch the whole 3 all the time. But these two, that we did the same thing for the whole game, is just completely baffling to me. Like, completely baffling to me. I don't understand why you're seeing Mount struggling. You're seeing Ziyech struggling. And you still don't do anything about it. You're just letting it continue being them struggling. Like, they can have a bad day, but we criticize this about Frank, and I'm not going to put Tuchel on the same level as Frank, not by any means. I love Tuchel, but I do think it's important that as much as we love him, we still criticize him when we think he did something wrong, and I do think so. it's like his job as the manager is to make the situation for the players on the pitch a little bit easier if he can. And I think he could have made it a little bit easier for them if he let them switch. Obviously, there was a couple of moments when Ziyech wasn't on the right, but that was more after set pieces rather than in actual open play. And I still don't understand why we don't change that. But hey, maybe Tuchel has a reason that I just don't understand. Who knows? But Jester, to finish off Mason Mount, what do you reckon? Obviously, we had a 1 from Pys, we had a 5 from Clutch, and we had 4.5 from me after I put Ziyech down to a 4. So where do you sit?
For me, he's a 4, and that's being generous. I think the reason we're playing. Look, to me, I think he played a little bit better than Ziyech, so that's why I'm going to rate him a little bit higher. He played the entire game. Losing the ball 25 times, not creating a whole lot. And this goes to the end. And I know people are going to hate on Pulisic, but who was feeding him balls today? Can anybody tell me? Who was passing him balls in the box?
No one was. Other than on 2
They were just passing it over the top and trying to have him win a header, and it was never going to work.
It's the same thing that we find with everybody who plays number 9 for us. They never get any service. So he's a 4 today, bad corners, 25 lost possession. He just didn't look at the races. I don't want to hear about him running and closing people down. Fine. But you're out there for goals and assists, and you just weren't at the races today. So 4 for me. I gave him the same rating as Ziyech. I think they were both just very ineffective at what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to drive to the touch line and play the ball on the ground across and have Pulisic get on the end of it. And they never did it.
Did you not think that Wolves sat too deep for that plan to properly work? Because that's my issue.
Well, that's when you're looking at your world-class players like Mason Mount and Hakim Ziyech to make something happen.
For sure.
Be a man.
It's easier for them to shoot from distance than doing that, though.
Really? So if you have Ziyech coming in on his favorite left foot, he's going to shoot and maybe get one on target.
Yeah, but that's more likely than anything to get something positive, is my thinking.
Ziyech never shoots for us anyway, so.
What? No, he shoots.
I think he does it. He's either always shoots when he gets into a position,
or never.
Or he never shoots.
He has games where he shoots way too much and games where he never shoots. Yeah, it's true.
He's just not at it. And like I said, Mount is supposed to be the next captain, generational talent, all that. He wasn't at the races today. It just we had to figure out why we cannot get our striker. And he was not a false 9 today. You guys can quit with that comment. A false 9 drops the build-up play and allows the 2 wide men to go forward. That's a false 9. He was playing as a 9.
I don't think we play a false 9. Even
he was playing as a 9.
We use him as a 9.
A 5'9", maybe a $165 winger playing as a 9.
I think he's like 140, but yeah.
Well, I don't know how much he weighs. I mean, I took a swing in the dark. So if the idea is to get to the byline and cross the ball on the ground so Pulisic can tap the ball in, it never happened.
No, it never happened. And that is why I question why didn't we change it? Because you could see it isn't happening. And we weren't even ever close to making it happen. So that's why I don't understand why we changed it. I do want to say one thing, and I'm sorry I'm dragging this. We're going to try to wrap this up quickly. But I do want to say one thing, because Clutch brought up both in the last stream and today the amount of times man lost possession. And somebody in the chat was saying if Alonso had these stats. Now, let's quickly think about what losing possession means. To lose possession more than somebody else, you also need to have possession more than somebody else, right? So if he has 20 more touches than Ziyech, obviously he's going to lose the ball more. And to lose possession more as a forward compared to a left wing back is also completely understandable, because I expect the forward to try and create something. And sometimes, especially when the opponent is super deep, you need to play a risky pass, but chances are you're gonna lose the ball. But maybe it goes through and then you're gonna score, which is that's like, again, I'm not saying it's a completely irrelevant stat, but it's not it's not like 2 + 2 is 4. It's not like factual. Like, there is context to it and there is situational stuff that depends on how relevant that stat is. Maybe for a wing back, you can always count it roughly the same. But I think for forwards in general, it depends on the opponent. And it depends on how we're playing in terms of overall how much value you give. You're losing possession this much, you're losing possession that much. But yeah, let's leave Man as a thought and let's move to Christian Pulisic. Although Rex Rubin here with another super chat, appreciate you so much, saying, I like CP, Christian Pulisic, of course, but he's not good enough for Chelsea, especially not starting, not a product, not a great passer, not a great football IQ. I'm not yet ready to say he's not good enough for Chelsea. The end product thing this season, unfortunately, I agree with. Not great passer. I probably agree with. I don't really see him attempting difficult passes ever, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And the football IQ, I'm not sure about that one. It's just, I still think, I go back to what I initially said about the front three. I think today was just super difficult for the front three, the way Wolves played. And again, supported by the fact that City and Liverpool had similar struggles against Wolves. And that is without being completely depleted like ourselves are. Again, just want to say these things, but appreciate the donation. I'll go last on Pulisic, and I'll let Pice go first on Pulisic. I know obviously you said a 1 for all of them, but do you want to elaborate on why you came to that conclusion?
Just didn't really get involved. I mean, if he was supposed to play as a false nine, it's the same problem I had with him against Everton. He needs to drop deep and link up the play. Just too static in the middle.
Again, this is why I'm saying he's not playing false nine, he's playing a 9, and I don't understand why.
Exactly. But, instructions or not, he's grown up enough to have some own impetus on his own performance. So,
True.
You need to try and make something happen. Like, fucking hell. I'm not, I see a lot of people giving him slander for the miss. I mean, I don't know. Liverpool City attacker probably scores that, but at the same time, he was on his wrong foot. He was under pressure. It's a good save. I won't give him too much slack for that. But I mean, as soon as I saw that Havertz had, the Rona, I was like, fucking hell, like, we've got no chance today, honestly. Because even Havertz, the thing is with him, and it's not a Pulisic problem, can't control his own height, but at least Havertz has height. Maybe today Ziyech would have been able to cross to him and,
Nick one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And Havertz just constantly moves around, drops deep, goes to the right, goes to the left, stays centre. Like, it's just, he does everything. Every time he plays, even sometimes if his overall game isn't the best, he still moves around and just looks like he cares, looks like he wants to be involved. I just didn't get that with Pulisic today. Didn't get it with Ziyech either. I did get it with Mount because he got in a lot of good positions and was linking up down the right. But I've already mentioned with him, his final product was terrible.
Yeah.
But
go on.
Yeah, I mean, that's my rating, and hopefully football's called off tomorrow.
Yeah, but not for too long. Like a little bit, but not for too long, right? Especially now. Like, now just the one season's over, and now we're calling off football. Could we have called off football 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? I have plenty of things to do. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, I'll go to you next, Jester.
Also, sorry, Laurenz. Rex has had another donation.
Oh.
He said, yeah, I'm not sure if you read it out, but
you can read it out, go on.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying, is it good enough to start? I mentioned this. I mean, £60 million on a sub's ridiculous. I did mention this. But again, it's Chelsea recruitment. I don't know. I mean, Pulisic, there's a larger conversation to be had about his future, what's best for him in the summer, but I think he's good enough for Chelsea, of course. Like, we've seen how good he can be, but it's where do we want to be? Do we take the risk of dealing with the injuries, dealing with the inconsistencies that come with him? Or in the summer, do we let him go? Do we try and put that money towards a new attacker? I don't know. That's obviously a question he's asking probably for the future in that donation. But, I mean, yeah, all our attackers are just so inconsistent. Even Havertz, I like Havertz, inconsistent. Ziyech, inconsistent. Mount is consistent most of the time, but still has off games. We don't have a Salah. We don't have a Mahrez, who's always good for City. We don't have someone like that. It's just a show.
Silva, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have those star players. We've got good, talented players. And Lukaku
should be that, and hopefully will be that.
I mean, Lukaku's a deadly finisher, but it's obviously you have to play a certain way with him. Like, you pay the money for Lukaku for the goals, for him being in the box and finishing the chances. And and getting him on those 1v1 situations where he can be deadly and on counter attacks, etc. But we just don't have enough technically secure players and consistent players, bro. It's just there's something's got to be really done about the wide players if we continue playing this formation. And I mean, any formation is going to have some sort of wide player, so that's the main area for me in the summer. Looking forward.
For sure. Well, depending on how many centre backs we lose, I guess. But yeah, no, I mean, the 60 million is the big problem here. If Pulisic, if we signed him for reasonable money, or if he came from the academy, I wouldn't have these questions necessarily, because I think he has shown enough to be like there is something there. But because when you pay 60 million for someone, albeit a lot of that was paying for his potential, of course, and also for his market value globally in terms of the US especially. That is obviously part of the problem, but I try not to hold it against the player as an individual, because it's not his fault that he cost 60 million. But like Pi said, it's a problem that he cost 60 million. I think he is good enough to start. Do I think he's worse than Hudson-Odoi? No. Do I think he's much better than Hudson-Odoi? Also no. At least right now. The problem is that I don't think none of them are quite good enough for what we actually want, other than Mason. Even Kai, I'm like, the guy was literally generational until we signed him, essentially. And then, yeah, first season, I'll let you off. But even this season, like, he's moving and he's helping us be good. But whenever the guy's in front of goal, he's like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, honestly, sometimes he chips, sometimes he doesn't. Then he does the wrong one in the wrong situation every time. Those are problems, but those are problems that we can't fix right now. We just need to try to work with it. But again, I did see another super chat here. Again, Rex, you're mental. I came off to negative. After another lockdown, he will be world class. There you go. Come on, that's the positivity I want to see. Jester, sorry, I kind of started to ask you and then stopped again. So my apologies. But about Christian Pulisic, how would you rate him, and how would you elaborate why you'd rate him?
Yeah, I'm about to piss everybody off because that's what I do. First of all, he's miles better than Callum Hudson-Odoi. Let's not even have that fucking debate. I'm sorry. I'm tired of having this debate with little kids on Twitter. Callum Hudson-Odoi has done nothing.
You're just saying that because you're American, bro. Let's be honest.
Oh, so now it's because I'm American. So you're just saying Callum's better because you're English.
No, Callum Hudson-Odoi is clearly the better talent, bro. That's not.
You have no idea what you're talking about. No.
He's far more consistent for Chelsea.
Okay,
you're just going off goals and assists.
Tell me what game he's won for Chelsea Football Club. Tell me what.
You're just going off goals and assists, not all-round performances. He's the far more consistent player and will last longer at Chelsea than Pulisic. So, you know.
Sorry, you're wrong.
I'm not. I won't be wrong.
The numbers don't bear that out.
I won't be wrong, trust me.
Well, I mean, you can hype up the academy all you want. The end of the day is Pulisic has won us games. He got us in the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's being played as striker. He's been played at wing back. He's been played at attacking midfielder. When he got consistent runs at left wing, he played very good. But we all forget about that. And we want to say the next guy, you know, we have Ziyech, who's 28 years old, who's done nothing for us. We have Timo Werner, who couldn't hit water from a boat. He's 25. That's okay. Christian Pulisic's 23 years old. 23. Our biggest problem is youth. Kai Havertz 21. Mason Mount's 23. And you're expecting these people to step up and win the Premier League when they're playing against people that are 20, 27, 28 in their prime and have played together for 5 years. We want that out of these players.
Absolutely. That's why we signed them, to win us leagues. That's why they're on so much money.
They're not on so much money compared to Man City.
Compared to Timo Werner, they're not, that's for sure.
Man United, compared to some of those players out there, they're not there yet. They're a young team.
Just on the position thing, do you think he should talk to, or how do I explain this? Do you think, or do you reckon he has talked to Tuchel about the position, or do you think he just goes along with it?
Well, he wants to get on the field, so you go play whatever position you want.
Okay.
And Rex, you're sorry. I appreciate the donation, man. You've probably dropped over a C note, but Callum Hudson-Odoi is not a better talent. He's a one-footed player that is better off the right wing than the left wing.
I mean, one-footed player, Gareth Bale and Arjen Robben are one-footed, so that doesn't necessarily stop you from being a great player.
No, but again, he's not that good.
No,
and since Sorry season, he's been absolutely dreadful. If you go look at his numbers, his Sorry season
all
was
about
his best
numbers,
season.
though, bro. He's not a numbers player.
He's not a numbers player. Okay,
No,
that's
he's
an
a
excuse.
creator, bro.
He's not a numbers player. He's creative,
He's not.
but he has no
He's
assists.
not. Wingers are different. Salah's got far more fucking numbers than Hazard because Hazard was a creator. Hudson-Odoi is a creator. He's a dribbler. He's not a goal scorer.
Show me the multiple assist games he's had.
That dribble thing about Callum, I haven't seen that in so long. Where Callum is like, this machine of a dribbler. I think Pulisic is a significantly better dribbler, personally. I think,
and we played
now,
a run
I'm not
of
American, right? So maybe I have a slightly. At least no one can tell me I like this one better because I'm American or because I'm English. So I'm neither. So no one can have a go like that at me. So personally, I think they're very similar to each other. I think you're both wrong. Personally, I think Callum isn't as good as Pice thinks, and I think Pulisic
He's
is
in top 5 creators in the Premier League this season.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
We play
How many
better
assists does
with
he have?
Hudson-Odoi.
How many assists does he have?
I don't know, but he's still in the top 5 creators. We don't have fucking attackers.
Really?
But
that's like horseshoes or hand grenades. Almost.
But, Mount could have like 150 assists for Chelsea if these guys up front could finish.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. I don't care unless the ball goes in the back of the net. I am not giving somebody credit for almost. The ball either goes in the back of the net or it doesn't.
No, that's ridiculous. Hazard could have ended his Chelsea career with like 300 plus assists. How can you not take that into account?
Maybe you're just 300 plus, but
no, he could have, bro. I literally,
how many games did he play for us?
Bro, my friend made a 7-minute comp through like multiple seasons of all the chances we missed. He could have he had like 100 plus assists.
I'm sorry.
He could have had at least 250 plus.
I'm tired of having this conversation because it's stupid.
Let's finish this conversation because I don't think we're going to get anywhere anyway. You're both stuck in
but
your opinion.
Look, I'm going to finish it. I gave him a 5 because he's the only one that did anything out of the forward line.
Bro,
for now, we sit at a 3. Let's see what the other boys say. Let me just quickly read out.
What did he do, bro?
Let me finish this. Let me finish.
What did he do?
I don't want to see him play for Chelsea next year.
I don't really know where you both keep going with this because I do think Pice is right that Callum will last longer at Chelsea than Pulisic, but that's nothing to do with being better. That's simply to do with the one guy cost us money and the other one didn't. I think that's the sole reason why one outlasts the other. I just think they're both roughly similar. But I don't think you can use the whole stat of creator, Pice, against Pulisic pro Callum, when Callum is the only of our forwards, except maybe Kai, but only because Lukaku was injured, that had a lot of starts in succession. Pulisic didn't have that. So you can't say...
Yeah, because he deserved the starts.
He did deserve the starts.
But that's irrelevant, though. He might have earned the starts, sure.
Yeah, and he kept his place because he played good for 8 games.
How many times do we see players earn starts and then not get them anyway? It happens, right? So he still has to get the game time to be able to get in those numbers that you're talking about. And Pulisic hasn't had those numbers partly due to injury. And then when he is playing, how many games has he played in his? Because we keep using that for Callum. He's a right wing, but he can't do anything. How many games did Pulisic actually get at left wing this season? 2?
None.
I feel like it was one.
He got 2. Maybe. He's gotten 4 under Thomas Tuchel, but he's only gotten 2 this season. He got first game, and then I think Juventus. I think he got on the left wing. But yeah,
I can't remember which ones it was. I just know it wasn't a lot, right? And I feel like if we use that for Callum and we say like, we can't expect too much from a right wing, but that's not him. Then we can't do that. We have, if you're going to be one of these people that says that, and I'm not. Hence why I'm not going to say it for Pulisic either. I feel like Callum should be doing more at right wing work when he is played there. But if you're going to use it as an excuse for Callum, then you need to use it for an excuse for Pulisic, who isn't being used in his best position all the same. But let's move on. Not really. Let's give it to Clutch about I mean, if you want to touch on anything the guys have said, I don't have much longer. I do need to wrap this up very soon, and we do still need to get to Thomas Tuchel. So I don't want to cut you too short, though, Clutch. So I'll keep myself short after. So do say what you need to say about Pulisic, mate.
I think today there's an overreaction. I mean, I asked the question, what more could he have done in the position that he had? I'm going to be fair, I guess, with I don't think he was good, but I think Pius asked me earlier, since I watch him a little bit more, what did I see? He did move over to the left a couple times, and all the times he did do like that. I think that first one was the cross that he was talking about. Then there was a second one where he crossed it, and I think Cody just knocked it out before Reece James got there. And then there was one where he linked up where he had Kante, where he passed it through to Kante, and I think somebody knocked it out, but they called it out on Kante. So I think, to be fair, yes, I agree with you when it comes to like the Pulisic conversation. I'm not ready to give up on him until we see him at least in a couple run of games at the left wing. And to say he doesn't deserve it, it's not fair to anybody. If you're going to be fair to one player, you got to be fair to the other. The reason why I don't like the whole conversation between Cho and Pulisic when it comes to like their positions is like, at least when Cho is in the right wingback spot, he has the skills and ability to do it. It's not like he can't. Pulisic in a 9 position can't do it. He can't cross. He's not like, that's not the type of player he is. He's a scorer. He's not a creator. That's the kind of player he is. So to say he needs to earn it, yes, but he needs to earn it on his side. Maybe more time from subs. I don't like the conversation when it comes to this. I don't think either are better than each other. They're both really young and they still have a lot more to go in order to prove their talent. If Cho works on his finishing, then he's going to be a great player. There's no questioning about it. That's my only holdback for him. Pulisic, he's got to make better decisions. He's got to be more consistent. He's got to stay on his feet more. That's his big problem. But as far as today, what more can he do as far as like being a striker against the 3 center backs that he had to go against? And just, again, I don't blame any of the front 3. So, I mean, I would give him the same as like Mount, probably a 5 because he did have the opportunity and I think it was a good save. But at the same time, they're not wrong when you say it's not good enough for Chelsea for what we see. Pulisic is still a player good enough. Ziyech is still a player good enough. Mount is still a player good enough to beat Wolves on this day. It's just I don't think they were set up properly today, and I think that comes back to Thomas Tuchel.
Fair. I mean, you said 5, which puts us to a 4 for now. I will say 4, so that leaves us on the 4. And why I'm saying 4 is for 2 different reasons. I'm rating what I saw and what we got. I'm not rating how I think how it's difficult for him to play that position. Because if I did that, I can give him a 6 or a 7. Because should he be playing in this position? No. But does he have to? Because all of our strikers managed to get COVID, which I'm not meant to say. But anyway, yes. So, but should he be doing more in that position? Yes. Like Pies touched on earlier, even if he's not officially deployed as a false 9, drop deeper sometimes. And he did it sometimes, but do it more than these few sometimes. Do it like 6, 7, 8 times in the game, not 3 times. Because he can do more on that. The finish, I don't have much of a complaint with. Yes, he had to score it for Chelsea. But I think the finish wasn't bad. It was just a very good save. Yes, could he have gotten a bit more height on it? Sure. The one moment I think he could have done a bit better with was, I can't remember if it was Kante, but the one through ball he did have. And it was slightly to his left, but still. He clearly tried to get fouled and get the pen, which I don't dislike because he probably felt we're not scoring here. So, like, the most likely chance of us getting a goal here is probably taking the pen. But because he took it it made it too obvious that he was doing that. And then the goalie just left it. And I think he should have just gone for it with his left foot. Because the goalie was coming for it, there was a chance he was going to not make him get it in. So I think that was a wrong decision-making in that situation, but I also understand the decision-making in that situation. But he literally had 2 moments where I'm like, as the striker, which he was today, he should have done, or 1 moment as a striker today, he should have done more. The fact that he even made that run and found that space once against Wolves, to be honest, fair play anyway. And then just unfortunately, the shot didn't go in. But should he still be doing more in terms of movement, left, right? I mean, I criticize about Lukaku, so I have to criticize about Pulisic. Move more. And when I say move, don't walk around. I mean, sprint here, sprint there. And when I say sprint here, sprint there, I mean like a 3-meter sprint, a 5-meter sprint, a 10-meter sprint, left, right. Make the players follow you. That creates space. He's doing none of that. The only player that does that is Kai. Even Lukaku doesn't do it, which is why I criticize it. But in terms of, was he awful, shocking today? I personally don't think so. I personally think it's just Wolves made it incredibly difficult for any of our front three. Personally, I don't think Ziyech should be a full point lower than the other two, in my personal opinion. But here we are as a democratic vote. Let's quickly get to Thomas Tuchel. And again, I really need to not keep this too long anymore. But anyway, I don't know if I want to go first. I'll let you go first, Pys. What you're saying about Tuchel. And please, guys, honestly, try to keep yourself short because otherwise I need to cut us off.
5, average. Disagree with some of the decisions, like obviously the two sides between Ziyech and Mount. Other than that, what else can he really do? Hopefully the board back him in January.
Hopefully the board back him in January. I guess we have 1-5. Jester.
Well, considering half our squad was out and we went to a very tough place to go and win this year, I'm going to give him a 7. I know exactly why he played the players he played. You can't be held responsible for the players not doing their job on the pitch. That's why we rate the players.
We do. I have also realized, sorry, Jester, if you wanted to add anything more, even though you touched on Rex's super chat, I didn't actually read it out. Just to read it out, just because, again, appreciate you very much. I'm an American and Cal is a better talent, also homegrown and costs nothing. But to be fair, I, along with many Chelsea fans, have been unfair. He thinks Callum is better than Pulisic, which is, hey, I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just don't want either to be constantly abused because that's pointless to anybody. They're not going to play better if they're abused, are they? But Jester, did you want to add anything to that, Tuchel, or shall I move on to Clutch?
No, you can move on.
There you go. Clutch, you seem pretty critical, so where would you go?
I'm going to give him a 5. I'm going to say in the middle of the line. I think for what he had available today and the fact that we probably shouldn't have even played a game, he played the best possible thing he could have played at the time. But I'm still going to be critical because there needs to be instruction to that front three in some way. If it's not working, if Pulisic isn't working like it is, there should be no reason Mount can't be moved to the middle. There should be no reason. Or Ziyech moved to the middle, or move some kind of change in that front three formation in some way. And I think that is on him. And I don't agree with that part of it. But for what he had, I can't really go too far onto him.
Fair. I will probably agree on, make it simple for myself, I will agree with the 5.5 we have right now. My reasoning for that is, on the one hand, like Jester said, with what he had available, 7 players out with the Rona and injuries and this and that, can't be harsh. But I do think, do not understand why Ziyech and Mount didn't switch at least at part of the game. And I also don't understand why, if our whole plan is playing long ball after long ball after long ball, which in the first half is all we did, and then in the second half, still cross after cross after cross. If that's all you, even if that's not the plan, if you can see as the manager, that's all we're actually doing, bring Barkley on up front. I'm not saying that's great, but if that's what we're doing, we need some height. And then just put it there. Like, it's pointless to keep going with a 5'8" striker if all we do is high crosses and long balls. That's not going to work. And I think that should have happened. We had a sub remaining. Like, do I think if Barkley happened, that would have changed it and we would have then won the game? To be honest, no, I don't. But it would have at least made sense to at least try and fix the issue that we had today with the players we had available today. Because the issue was Pulisic's too small for what we're trying to do. And the only guy we had to try and fix that problem, or it helped that problem at least, was Barkley. Again, I don't think I would have fixed it all, but it would have been at least a decision that, to me, would have been understandable. But hey, I think we're going to round it out here, ladies and gentlemen. There's 3 people I'm giving a special shout out today, alongside my 3 guests, of course. Number 1, there's Ngolo Kante for one of the most impressive comebacks I've ever seen. Number 2, for Sol Niguez for actually a decent performance when I didn't think he had that in him anymore. And number 3, to Rex Rubin, because the amount of donation today was ridiculous. So appreciate you, appreciate Jester, appreciate Clutch, appreciate Pys. I hope you don't all hate each other now. You can all have different opinions. It's all good. We all love each other. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please check out all of these guys on Twitter. The links are down in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't already, which I just realized I have never told you, maybe at the start. But subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Hit that big red subscribe button for me. Would be massively appreciated. Smash the like button for me as well if you haven't just yet. Pen to who? Kante at Penn. Have you seen it yet? Pys, have you seen what's going on at the game?
I think it was. I think Liverpool have just scored.
Oh, flip's sake. Well, that's not fun. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's just leave. Ladies and gentlemen, again, appreciate you all for watching. Appreciate you for tuning in. Subscribe, smash the like button if you haven't already. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully, next time is still soon, by the way. But you know, if they basically cancel Premier League tomorrow for a while, we're probably going to be back for a stream anyway. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, and we'll see you